Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I just wanted to make a quick video. This has been a request by several people over the last year, and that is, how do you do your stipple jobs? And kind of wanting to know more about how I stipple my guns. And I guess a lot of times people, you can go on a lot of YouTube channels and find how to stipple a gun, and they show you how to do it and everything. But I guess some people may think, having somebody talk to them about it that's more of a normal guy that don't do it on a daily basis. Maybe they're wanting somebody like me who's done a few guns and I've done a pretty good job with them, but yet I'm not a professional, to kind of give them some pointers. I think that's kind of why they're asking me, because you can seek out probably even better professionals than I am, for sure. So I'm definitely not saying that I'm a professional, by no means, and I'm going to say do this at your own risk. But I want to give a few pointers and kind of talk about it. I don't want to I thought about it several times, making a video of me stippling a gun, but the process is so long, and the process is so, the process kind of requires you to have a well-ventilated area. I always use a box fan, and I'll kind of go into that too, because I want you to understand that this is not the easiest thing to do in a closed area or a place without ventilation. I'm not one to really enjoy breathing melted plastic fumes, and so I really like to make sure I'm in a place. So I go out to my back porch or something in the spring or the fall, and I'll put my box fan up on a chair, on a metal folding chair or something like that, and I'll sit in the chair beside it, and I'll have the box fan sucking the intake side. That's where I'll be working, so all the fumes and stuff gets blown out and sucked through there. I found that works better than being on the push side of the air, or the side that's blowing the air toward you, because those fumes get scattered so much that you still get to breathe a lot of it even when the air's blowing on you. So I found it better when the air is actually being sucked away from you, and so that's how I do it. I set a box fan up right beside where I've got my this is basically just a wood burner, and that's what I use. You can find more expensive, but this is about the cheapest option you can do, and it works just fine. The bad thing about the cheaper ones is you don't have as much adjustment on your heat, so that could play a problem based off, if you're in a rush, or you don't take your time, or you don't try to figure out how to do it slowly. If you're impatient, just forget doing this, guys. So that's one thing I'd like to tell you. So don't do this if you're a person that's very impatient and you get discouraged really easy, because this kind of thing is just not for people like that. So I just kind of want to let you know that up front as well. But this is a very cheap, I think it's a $10 wood burner. They might be more today than they were when I bought this one. I pretty much always use this tip, and this is basically unchanged from the factory way that this came. I did file the edge. It was a little bit more blunt, and I filed it to where it's more rounded, because I wanted the stipple to kind of round off. I didn't want it to have sharp edges. I didn't want it to sink into a hole at a 90-degree angle. I wanted it to be kind of rounded in the stipple, as you can see with the P10C. I wanted it to kind of have a rounded edges. And what I like about this particular tip is, and you can see where this got hot and it's actually flaked off. Part of the metal's flaked off, but it still retains its basic shape and structure for doing what I need it to do. But I might need to replace this tip one day. But this has done 4 or 5 stipple jobs, and it's done a really good job. But what I like about this tip is I'm able to control the sizes of the stipple, because I can do it more straight on like that. So basically I can do the stipple like this, where it's straight on to the thing. But usually I like to take it as an approach when I come down. I come down onto this, and I kind of roll it out and come out. and that keeps it from overheating and over melting. So I kind of roll. It's hard to do this on camera, but I kind of want to show you what I do. I kind of take this front side in and I roll. It's how I do it most of the time. I also want to say, this is kind of a complex video. We're talking about a lot of things at once, and most of it's common sense. But all plastic, like this plastic, may burn quicker and deeper faster than this, or this one faster than this. So you want to take your time on those first few stipples and get a feel for what that plastic melts, what temperature that plastic's melting at, how deep it's wanting to burn in, at what speed, it's sinking into the plastic itself. So also the time of year that you stipple. If it's really hot outside, the iron may stay hotter than if it's cold outside. So all those factors, it's not as complicated as it sounds, but it can be kind of complicated. So just take your time on those first few parts of that stipple job and see what the burner's doing, see what the plastic is doing for your particular platform. Okay, guys, so that is kind of important, because I promise you, this CZ and this CZ, these are two CZs, this one melted different than this one. So however the composition of this polymer is different than this polymer. It may be because of the color, I don't know why, but all the composition of the polymers are probably slightly different. Okay, guys, so I wanted to tell you that as well. So like I said, make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. Make sure that you get a box fan or something that is sucking the fumes away from your face, because you do not want to smell this. It's not pleasant. It's not the worst thing you'll ever smell, but it's definitely not the most pleasant. I mean, it's definitely very hard to breathe the air around this thing. And so being at least in an open garage or open shed building, or a porch, an open air porch, or something like that when you do this. Of course, if you had a workshop with a ventilation hood, that would be the best case scenario, right? If you were under a ventilation hood that was sucking air out of that shed or that work building or something, that would be a professional setup to do. But always make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. And not just that the air is open, but that you're actually getting some kind of suction of the fumes, because it is, like I said, a bit much. But like I said, going back to this tip as well, this is the tip I like to use. I'm trying to get a focus on it. And I can do really fast burns by placing the whole tip down, or I can put the very tip, try to get this focus, I can put the very tip on it, like at an angle like this, and I have a very small burn, or if I'm doing like the ends of where the kind of the barrier is around the stipple job itself. So it gives me different sizes I can do with one tip and without changing tips, and I really like that. So I can do a tighter stipple, or I can do a bigger stipple. And I feel like, to me, the larger stipple looks better. I feel like it's easier. It don't take as long. The little tiny dot stipple is not enough texture for me. The little tiny dot texture takes too long. I mean, it's constant tapping, tap, 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 lifting, tapping. It kind of wears me out. I feel like this looks better. I feel like it gives you more traction. It gives you more control. It gives you more design options as well. When you're doing just a circle stipple, to me, it looks a little bit cheaper. It looks a little less professional, and it doesn't give you any kind of design options. And what we mean by design is, as you can see, most of my guns have what I call a starburst pattern. So I like to find somewhere on the frame, somewhere on the grip that has a logo. And I will take and start from that logo and work out like almost that's like a sun, and the rays of the sun are coming out. That's the pattern I followed on most of these. On the Archon, I took a different approach, and this one had basically grip panels, stick-on grip panels. I did not like any of those options. I tried two different options, didn't like either one. So I just pulled them off, and it already had a barrier where those grip stickers go, so I didn't have to cut any kind of barrier, and it worked great. And I thought with this kind of pistol, it's already such a cool looking pistol, I wasn't going to do any kind of fancy stippling. I was just going to do straight across, and I think it turned out great. And added a little stipple here. It's kind of funny, guys, because I wasn't going to stipple this, but trying to stipple at angles and stuff around here, I ended up touching this, and I was like, you know what, I want that stippled anyway, because your hand does get a good bite into this right here when you're gripping the gun, so that actually gives you quite a bit of extra grip. So I just stippled right here because I already touched it, and I think it turned out great. Sometimes your mistakes can turn into some of the best things that we do. So don't be afraid to make a few mistakes, because usually you can figure out a way, if you think about it and you don't rush, you can find a way to fix your mistakes. So it's not a big deal. Also, I feel like these guns look great, but if you look really close, these guns do not have to be perfect. See, in the barrier where, there's some places I'm going to go into the kind of the crease of the line. That don't have to be perfect for this to look really good. I mean, nobody's going to look at that and say, that looks bad. So it don't have to be absolutely flawless. Take your time to where you don't get too far into these barriers, kind of where you're wanting the stipple to stop. But don't worry about the little tiniest things. Don't get all tore up about it. It'll look good as long as it all looks consistent all the way across. If you go a little past further than what you wanted to originally, it's really not going to look bad when you put the whole thing together. I mean, you're doing this to make a machine that works better for you, that has more performance, has more grip to it. And, it just doesn't have to be as perfect. If you look at even factory stipple jobs, I mean, for the most part, they're pretty perfect. But if you look at them really, really close, they don't always line up. I mean, they're not always perfect anyway. Even the texture itself sometimes will have little imperfections in it. So don't worry too much, especially if this is a gun that you're wanting to add performance to. Just try to take your time, and it'll turn out a lot better. Don't get all upset when you barely go into the side here. Like you can see here, I went into there a little bit, maybe a little too much there. And if you want to, you can actually take some sandpaper and kind of sand those out a little bit if you want to. I don't feel like none of my spots were bad enough to do that. And I feel like overall, when you look at this gun, it looks beautiful. It just doesn't need to really be fixed in any way. But I do it for more performance, but I want it to look good, and I feel like it does. So, like I said, if you're getting close to this barrier or where you're wanting to stop stippling, you can use that tip instead of using the whole blunt edge. You can use the tip of the edge, and that way you can get a smaller stipple to stop at the edge, because you're not always going to make it to that edge. And this doesn't have to be, I want to make sure you understand, this doesn't have to be perfectly uniform. There don't have to be a perfect pattern. You want it to look kind of sporadic. You want it to look kind of like a dragon scale or something, where it's random. There's a flow to it, but it's kind of random. It doesn't have to be so perfect. But you do want it, you don't want to go one direction and then go another direction randomly, unless you kind of have figured out some kind of pattern you want to do or something but you just don't want to, you want to make sure you kind of have some kind of idea what you want to do before you get started. All right, so let's talk about kind of how, I feel like this one's kind of easy to explain because you're going straight across. You're just keeping level with the slide. So I'm just stippling with the direction of the slide all the way down and trying to stay within these barriers that were already created. But say you want to do something like this. I'm going to explain to you kind of what I did. Let me get something to point with. Excuse me. Okay. All right. So if I was starting this stipple, I kind of want to show you guys, I'm going to create kind of a star. So I might start with the line, with the lines of this grip angle. And I might start here and go straight up, stipple, a straight line, over and over, like up and down, until I hit here. And then I might start over here in order to get the starburst right, and we'll start over here. So I'm not going to start here and just start moving over. I'm going to create a design. So it's going to look kind of like just a few rays coming out of this circle. So I'll start here and go up, and then I'll maybe start here and go to here, and then I might start here and go to here, and start here and go to here, start here and go down, start here and go up. And so I'll create a flow kind of for my overall pattern. So I don't ever want to start somewhere and just keep going by its side, because it's probably going to not look symmetrical, right? So I want to start with one line, and then I want to create a pattern first. So I'll move a few lines over from this starting point and then go straight up from there. And then I might move this direction and go straight up from here. So I'm creating a uniform, symmetrical starburst look to it first. And then I can come back and start filling in those gaps, because it's going to make the gun look uniform. And this particular gun, I also took a Dremel, and it has like a little round ball bit cutter, and I created the barrier around the stipple job with that cutter. So this one's a little bit different. This was probably my most time-consuming one, because it was my first one, and I really wanted to make sure I could do it right. And at the time, they didn't have replacement grip options for these guns. It was fairly new in the market, so you can see that I took my time and made sure that it all looked good and uniform on this one. But I don't think you have to take that much time for it to turn out pretty good. The bull is kind of the same way, but the starburst pattern starts more in the center, whereas this one starts in the bottom. So I did the same thing. You know, start here, go with the grip angle. So this grip angle is like this. I'll start here and go down one line, go up one line, and then I'll go horizontal, you know, kind of right in the middle from horizontal to vertical line. I'll kind of go up like this, and then up like that, and then over like this, and over like that. And I'll come down, and I'll create the one line at a time at those different angles, and then I start to fill the gaps. So that can give you some perspective. With this grip, I saved quite a bit of money by going with the first gen bull grip. I wanted to upgrade the grip to the bigger grip, and so I could have bought the newer gen texture, which I liked, but this one was on sale, so I saved like $40 getting the first gen, and I thought I'll just stipple it to a more aggressive stipple, and I even like my stipple better than I like the new gen stipple, so I'll just do my own thing. It'll be a custom gun. So that's what I did. So yeah, I kept the front and back texture the same because they're pretty good, but I just stippled both sides starburst. Looks really good. Just kind of giving you an idea of what to do there. If I didn't say this before, I do want to clarify, and you might hear me repeat some things in this video, but I'll make sure you get it all. I like these bigger tips because the bigger tips go faster. This is something that you will get tired pretty quick. You can take a break. You can put it down, take a break. I'd rather you do that than start screwing things up and get frustrated at yourself. So just take a break every once in a while. Turn your fan off, turn your wood burner off, and go take a break if you need it. Get some fresh air, and then come back to the project. One gun like this, for this kind of tip, will take you about probably around 3 hours once you know what you're doing. You could do it as fast as an hour, but I wouldn't suggest it. I think that's a little bit too fast. That's too fast of a goal time to do it. I would give yourself a good 3 hours before you start this job. Okay, guys? But yeah, you don't need nothing expensive. You can buy different kinds of tips for these wood burners. A lot of them come with several tips. I think a lot of them come with a tip like this. But I do suggest a tip like this over your normal little round tips, because to me, that looks better than just having somebody burning a bunch of holes in your gun. I've seen guys that take it and you know, now, if you're going to burn the circles, I'd rather you get a really tiny one and kind of go a little bit deeper. With a tinier one, I feel like that looks more, it looks more factory that way. When you take a big circle burner and you start burning big circles, I don't feel like it looks very professional or looks very well done. But I feel like a big tip like this, because I'm creating designs and I've got a flow to it, it actually looks good. And bigger textures, you can usually get more depth and you can get more skin into those textures. So you actually get better grip. But also the big textures, I don't feel like are very hard on the skin, as far as like with the bigger textures, when you grip it tight, you get really good purchase or really good grip. There's no slipping. But when you touch it softly, it doesn't hurt the skin. So you could actually wear this appendix. This gun appendix would work just fine. It wouldn't really irritate the skin unless you were really moving around a lot. So it's not a real abrasive, but it does give you a ton more texture than the original grip. The funny thing is the original P10C had an aggressive texture, but I felt like it hurt my hand. This one is more aggressive as far as grippiness, but it's less aggressive about hurting your hand. That's weird. I know that's hard to explain. But this texture is actually just as grippy, if not more grippy, than the original texture. I'm sure it's more grippy. But like I said, it doesn't hurt your hand as bad as the original texture, which is strange. I guess it covers more area too, which is good. But anyway, guys, this video is taking too long. I don't want to take too much time. You can just look at these guns real quick and you can see what I've done with them. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm not going to probably ever show a video of me stippling because the fan will be running. It's just too hard to get good lighting with the camera and everything else. This is just a bonus. I added stippling to the back and I added more texture to the front. This was more just lines in the front. I just kind of giving you a bonus with this gun. God bless. Have a great day. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Please like and subscribe, because I'm not sure that this video will be accepted in the way that I would like to. I'm not going to explain that with words, but some videos like this may not get looked at as positively. But I've had so many people request it, so please leave me a like and subscribe with this video. God bless. Have a great day. If I missed something, if I didn't cover something, let me know. I figured this would make a better video than actually showing me stipple, because you can find other videos where they're doing that, but I wanted to explain my process. I wanted to explain what's going on instead of just showing you 2 hours worth of me doing it. I would only have to I could only show you clips of it anyway. I couldn't record the whole process. It would just take too long and too much editing and stuff like that. So I'd rather just explain to you what I'm doing and give you all an idea so you can do it for yourself. Like I said, please subscribe. Appreciate you guys. God bless. And have a great day. I hope you enjoyed looking at these firearms and kind of getting a good idea for how you can do this yourself. Let's see if I can get this to focus. But yeah, that's the tip that I use. Like I said, I can do this long stipple, or I can use the tip and use a more precise stipple. Guys, see you on the next one.